Welcome back, everyone, to Tarot Journeys with Guy. How is everybody out there? We saw some amazing things. President Trump nearly assassinated. And thank God, there was one shift of his head or whatever, how people are talking about divine intervention, okay? Now, we knew this was coming. People have been trying to predict this for years. We've been warning people about the exact machinations of the ingrained deep state globalist group that are ingrained within the US government, within all of the governments within the Western world. And this is part and parcel of the whole plan. So, man, so glad that, and I'm so happy that literally dodged a bullet. But yet it's very concerning. It's very dangerous. The time has been accelerated. I mean, I guess for me, we've been waiting for this. And this is what gets me very anxious, and I think it gets a lot of people very anxious, that, we're constantly waiting for the next shoe to drop. Okay, what are these guys going to do next? What's going to happen? And so, and it's very daunting and very concerning now. Since the last time that I sat and did a video and a reading for everybody, a lot has sort of transpired. We saw this whole globalist leftist takeover in UK, France, okay? Very concerning there. Kind of something that was also foreseen coming, right? And then there was the NATO summit just recently, and then the debate. I guess it was the debate, and then the NATO summit, and Joe Biden, and all of that stuff, right? And it's part of this kind of script and part of their agenda that they're playing out. And so what's very concerning here is that they're at their last straw. Like, the last straw was this attempted assassination, right? And this is speculation. This is what I'm speculating on. Many people. Nobody believes that this lone gunman story. Okay, that's one thing. As we've gotten closer and closer to the US election, the presidential election in 2024, and this shadow war that has been taking place with the deep state element and the people, okay, that's in its basic element, it can be stripped down to that, okay? So as they have been caught and their plans being sort of uncovered and all of the machinations that these guys have been up to, they start implementing these intense measures, let's call them, okay? And so part of that is this gearing up to global conflict, okay? That was one of the things, and utilizing the climate crisis and a war scenario potentially, or another pandemic, to implement a full takeover, a full coup. And so what we were witnessing, like JFK style, a coup that has been taking place in slow motion in many ways, in phases. And they're reaching the last phase. So what's really concerning is that, what are they going to do next? Well, what's next is the false flag. False flag. Right? Like, I mean, you name it. What are they going to do? Right? A lot of people are talking about this. Okay. So, and that's what's really concerning. The social situation is such that all of the kind of pieces are in place. So that's scary, right? And so it's like, I don't even want to give word to that. I don't even want to bring that into fruition. Same thing like with the attempted assassination of President Trump. I didn't even want to bring word to it. I'm not even sure if I talked about it, but I probably did. We all did. We've been talking about it for years. Okay, so this thing that happened on the weekend at the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, is it a shortcoming of the Secret Service, the DEI hire diversity, equity, inclusion hire of the Secret Service head, and some of the hires like in the actual contingent, like what we saw. Is that part of it? Yes, it is part of it. It's part of their sort of, and part of this kind of stand down, allowing this person within a perimeter, their regulated and practiced training perimeter that these guys go through to protect presidents and dignitaries and prominent people. This guy got within 150 yards, this young dude, whoever, right? And so, and then instantly it comes out and it's this and it's that, and there's a lot of different information. And if you know, and if you've been paying attention, all of these shooters, all of these scenarios fit the same program, the same story. The media does the same thing. The other thing too is the media, blaming the media, right? And it's the deep state side, the Democrat side, but the deep staters, and it's not just the Democrats, it's also the rhinos down in the States, right? It's the uniparty people. It's up here in Canada as well. But the rhetoric, the constant rhetoric, the constant talking down to this guy, Donald J. Trump, calling him a Nazi, calling him a racist, calling him a misogynist, and every single time it comes out that these people that are projecting this lie are the very thing that they're trying to put onto Donald Trump. And it's the same thing, like where you see the left side or the progressive side, or however you want to talk about the other side, the anti-Trump side, how they're talking about how this was staged, that it's just a show. Well, I hate to break it to you people that the people that you think that are on the good side, like the Biden team and all that, have been staging false flags, have been doing this kind of stuff, and they're gaslighting you, gaslighting us. And yes, it is a deep state, it is a psyop. And I don't need to know necessarily particulars, and like whether the kid was trained or what, or whether he's an actual agent or MK Ultra, it doesn't really matter. It's in the social pool, the fracturing, the division, the psychological disturbance, the MK Ultra. The MK Ultra has been implemented to a large measure on a mass. They don't need to use targeted individuals, but they are, like the patsy, the whole idea of the patsy. Now, yeah, and I don't necessarily want to get into too many particulars, but man, as soon as it happened, I was like, oh God, it's like everything else. And just thank God that he survived. And man, look what happened. And anybody that, you're so lost if you can't see it now. That's sort of my perception. So it's crazy. Canada has Trump derangement syndrome so bad. Even the people that are, on the freedom side we're all taken by this psyop, this gaslighting projection, this psychological projection onto us. A lot of people don't understand fifth generational warfare, don't understand how they're being weaponized, but almost every single person that I come in contact with, very, very few that are openly pro-Trump. In fact, I only met one person. Yesterday, actually, a friend of mine I hadn't seen for a while. Okay, and it was just so bizarre going out. I went out, and since the last time we sat, and this seems to be my pattern, right? I do a video and then kind of wait and see, and then I get kind of caught up in the IRL, the real life, and just the exchanges with people, and having to go and talk to some of these people and be like the one person that says, no, wait a second, no, you got it wrong. That's a lie. What you believe is a lie. No, it's daunting. I'm not gonna fool people. Like I'm upset by this. This pisses me off. But I've been feeling that way since before COVID, before the pandemic. So, but cooler heads prevail. And it's true, we do need to figuratively fight and push back, but it definitely has to be done from a non-divisive way, from a non-violent way, and it has to be done from the point of view of the rule of law and the democracy that's still intact in our countries, and the freedom of expression and freedom of speech and things that are still remaining, the little remnants that are, and to utilize them and to speak up and to get active. Like for people in the States, like if I was in the States right now, I would be very active in, I'm not that, it may not seem this way, but I'm not that much of a political person, right? I'm very tuned into politics now. I always have been. I'm very interested. I've always been very interested in history. Okay. And so, but yeah, I would be getting involved. I would be volunteering. I might even be at the RNC right now, right? I might be, I'd be doing whatever I can to make sure that in November, that election goes through in a fair way, that these guys don't mess with the election again, and just do as much as I can. And I mean, I'm doing as much as I can here in Canada. And it's the same thing, like for Canadians to get involved. It's different in Canada though. Canada is pretty lost, I think. It's not to say to give up hope on it, because we're also going to have to do something similar. But man, a lot of these people are okay with living in a dystopic, totalitarian, communistic, socialist state. That they are, a lot of these people, and the younger generations are definitely primed for it here, because they got no hope. There's nothing here anymore. I mean, there is and there isn't. There, a huge fundamental to an economy is production. This culture in this society in Canada doesn't really produce anything anymore. And there is no real hope for younger people to sort of get into, I guess the regular thing. But see, I've come from the perspective, and I mean the regular thing, like buying property, working, having families, the regular kind of thing. Now, I've never lived a regular life, but I've always been one of these people for the last 30 years that have seen the corruption and seen the fallacy in the middle class dream, because it's been co-opted. It was co-opted then. Couldn't see the motive so clearly. The motive of these guys and their aims have become so much clearer in the last few years, last 5 years, last 10 years, right? So, and that's kind of the thing that we're looking at. And I wish I would have seen. We always say that. Look in the rearview mirror and say, oh, I wish I would have seen clearer. Yeah, that's part of human life, right? So, yeah, and I guess that's part of my work, is to sort of alleviate and to atone for some of the guilt that I feel for not doing more, but yet also giving myself maybe some credit for what I have done. But see, I'm telling you guys that because that's for you as well. That's also all of us. That's all of the millions, if not billions, of people that are there. And for instance, with President Trump, this needs to go through. This guy needs to prevail. In a lot of ways, it's like one of the last hopes of freedom, but it's not. This is a person that is shown an example that we have to follow, that all of us need to follow in some way. Hey, yeah, I know, could soften the tone and the edge and all that, but what are you going to do if you get shot in the ear? Are you going to jump up and tell everybody to fight, fight, fight? Yeah, to me, that says everything, right? And he is fighting. He's fighting for all of us. He's fighting for our freedom, okay? So he picked J.D. Vance as his VP running mate. And so right away I was like, okay, well, and I kind of already had looked into this guy. Every single one of these politicians are lawyers in some way, shape, or form, right? So yeah, Yale Law School, well, that's skull and bones. that's where Skull and Bones comes from, right? That's a traditional thing. So right away I was like, oh God. And actually when his name came up, I was sort of like, deep state. He looks almost like the guy from the Denzel Washington movie, Manchurian Candidate, the new one, not the old ones with Frank Sinatra, but the new one, which is also a pretty good movie, very telling, right? It's very similar. But the thing is, I don't, there's a lot of things being thrown around, and I don't want to create any more division than there already is. We need to be sort of in a unified way. I think it's a pretty good thing. What I've heard too is he's got connections with Donald Jr., Trump's son, which, yes, that's cool. I'm okay with that. I definitely have grown. I love this guy now. You see him at the RNC, or he tells the NBC, I don't know, he called it the MBDNC, and told them to get lost, that they're all clowns, and they are, right? So, but that's one thing, right? So if he's connected with the Trumps in that way, then that's good. And that's something that we can go by. But, and so, and the other thing I thought about, and a lot of the readings were talking about this, how some of these guys in these deep state people, these people that have been primed and ushered and initiated in their little system and pushed up ahead. And now this guy is kind of one of them, this J.D. Vance dude, if you look at his history. But yet, I mean, this is also where the breakaway had come from. This is where the so-called white hats, the actual people that have been pushing against this agenda for so long, okay? They've had to break away from somewhere, and they broke away from elitist groups, right? So, yeah, that's one thing I was picking up. These guys are switching sides. Some of these guys are waking up. They're being red-pilled, right? Yeah, they're waking up kind of like Elon Musk. Elon Musk is another one. I have to wait and see, but it's sort of like, we have to have our allies, and these people are going to switch side from the deep state, okay? That is what is going to happen, okay? But we have to wait and see, and we have to kind of remain a little bit unified. See, it's the same thing, like Elon Musk. Never trusted this guy, still don't trust this guy. He's pushing a lot of transhuman agenda, but yet, Alex Jones talks about how he's like a pro-human transhumanist or something, right? And it's like, and he has this backing of the X holding group that is completely classified, which is, I understand why, but you can't really get any information who these people are. And it's like a replacement. The globalists, the neoliberal globalist combine, Western combine, and he's kind of the replacement almost in some ways, right? But he's standing up for freedom of speech. He just put through a huge donation for the protection of ballots, and I can't remember exactly the details, but it's good stuff. So what do you do? Well, you gotta kind of back, because right now, man, this is like a war of annihilation, figuratively, psychologically. The other side, these death cultists, these globalists, want to annihilate those that stand against them, period. And people need to understand that. They need to fully understand that. Now, enough people are getting it, so that's good, right? So, yeah, that was a good thing. And then, there's certain things I like that he picked this guy too. There's a few things, right? And man, I really hope he has switched, right? And I really hope that some of these people have woken up, because you got to realize too, with how that deep state world works, in a sense of it's compartmentalized. So you're only given so much information on a need to know basis. So a lot of times these operatives, these people, don't really know what's going on, what's the next step in the project. And until they find out, and that's where you get a lot of these whistleblowers through the last few decades, since the 60s, let's say, since the assassination of President Kennedy. Yeah, these people sort of come to understand like the lies and the corruption and the decrepitude of these elitist circles, right? And it's crazy. Okay, so yeah, and that's one thing. And other people are really concerned about is whether Trump's going to even make the election, right? Like, what's going to happen and what's next? What are these guys going to do next, right? And people are really worried about it. So yeah, we will do a reading. I think what we'll do a reading on is Trump. We're going to be more specific than, because things, see, and that's the thing, like with the readings, I know I'm kind of rambling right now, but it's kind of good. Yeah, with the readings that I've been doing, you know, it's really just been an exercise of spiritually getting the message out there and not playing into the system, not working for the system, not working for YouTube or, and letting some of the readings play out. Like there's things that have come up in my readings. For me, it's like, man, like some of this stuff needs to play out. And it has been. It has really been playing out, like as some of the stuff that has come up, right? Yeah, it's been difficult, honestly. And that's why I haven't been doing as many readings. I kind of would like to. I mean, if I had more help with people and stuff, I would definitely do that. But it's all part of the plan. It's all part of the divine plan that we're all, whether we want to accept it or not, we're all part of it, right? And yeah, it has to be in that arena and not in the arena of the way that the world is right now and the beast machine. Okay, that's enough talking. Let's do a reading on Trump. What's going to happen next? Where do we see the election? You know, I'm not going to read about like, is he going to win or anything like, and actually, you know what? The election is going to go through and he is going to win, right? Like that's what we got to keep with right now and not allow some of the fear tactics that are being pushed on us. But yeah, we're going to look at that. How is that going to proceed from now? And then that's going to open us up to do a reading on JD Vance. Okay. But yeah, let's look at Trump and see how he's faring. What's actually really going on? Is he like getting wise to this? Like we saw at the RNC where he didn't have the same contingent of the Secret Service. It was all a bunch of like buff men, you know, above 6 feet, look trained, look deadly, look mean. That's what you want, man. Come on. Okay. President Trump. This card here in the present, okay, that's a really good thing. If he didn't know before President Trump, if he didn't know before fully, man, he sees clearly now. He sees the direction now. Like all of us, he was waiting for it. He was almost surprised, like, man, it took you guys this long? That's part of that, right? So, and he's a funny guy. He's an interesting dude, and I think you have to be this way in order to be as successful as he has been, okay? But he's never really wanted to look at that either, though. This has shooken him up. This has actually shooken him up a bit. Where he didn't fear for his family and because he understands, like, if they get him, they're going after it all. Like, they're going after everybody he loves. Not just the country, but he loves the country. He loves the people. He really does. This is what's amazing about this whole thing. The amount of love that has come out. Not hate, but love. Worldwide. Okay, but yet, yeah, the fear. It's good. You got to have a little bit of fear in war. Shouldn't be foolish and not fearful in some way. Not let it get the best of you, but understand that sometimes it's necessary. So that's one of the things that he sees clearly now, that the road that we have to take is going to be hard, but it's going to be successful. He's got a really good plan to revitalize the economy in the States. That's what this Pentacles really talks about, but this is something that he's been talking about, right? But now it's like time, like, right? Like, it's almost like this is what his team and everybody's been kind of waiting for, is something of this magnitude and like an attempt on his life. Okay. That's a huge thing. Okay. So yeah. And that's what they're moving to. And it's like, man, it's a gloves off moment. That's why he looked, if you watched the RNC yesterday and he came out and the greeting. And man, he looked a bit shooken. I mean, I get it. This is a show, right? But yet and I think he's pretty genuine, right? Like, I don't think this is a guy that can wear too many masks, right? He's so brash and like himself that even when he's putting on sort of the show, he's kind of, I think that's why people like him, right? Because there's an authentic part of it. But yet, yeah, he was a little bit shooken, but man, the love, right? The love of the whole convention, but the love that he has for people is uncanny. You can actually see it with him, man. And it's not fake. That's what's so cool. Like, wow, huge moment. So cool. Right? But he looked shook and he had the ear bandaged on, and you can tell it's like serious. Like, yeah, these guys want to celebrate, but man, like, they tried to kill me. And I know what I got to do next. And you know what? It's so funny. And he is going to show people exactly how they've been lied to. And I think, yeah, I do think he's just. But he is not going to be soft. But it's not in the way that they're trying to project, like he's going to do all this bad stuff. No, he's going to use the rule of law. You guys have been breaking the law. A lot of you are treasonous, actually. So, okay, so the other thing too with the whole JD Vance deal is like, keep your friends close and your enemies even closer. And so this is like a frenemy. And they don't trust him fully, and they can't. But they've brought this person because he has switched sides, but he's coming from that establishment side. He's kind of more on the Mike Johnson kind of side of things. He's like a rhino, right? That's switched. Okay, and they brought him in. There's also this other thing of the potentiality of a continuation with him and the Trump team. Okay. But yeah, they've drawn him in because they want to use him and not the other way around. Hate to say it like that, but that's what it is. They didn't do that with Pence, and they made a huge mistake. Okay, he's sort of like this JD Vance guy's in the process of like having his eyes fully awoken. Right? He doesn't even know that he's lying to himself. That's what this card here with I keep pointing to the King of Cups. It's, yeah, this guy's very honest. And I kind of am perceiving this guy as Trump, but maybe even Trump Jr., his connecto. But it's the connection with the Trump team and the attempt to sort of subvert the subversion in the establishment. Okay? And I think it's good. I think it's a good thing. But yeah, you got to understand, it's a speculation. He comes out of this Freemasonic skull and bones thing that is so ingrained in U.S. politics that it's like almost impossible to like pull it apart. You almost have to like grab the people, put people in there and change it. And that's what's been going on, actually, right? It's just like, man, people are so fearful and stuck in their ways. They won't make a move until a lot of people don't have the courage of President Trump. They just don't. There's not many people like him. Like, holy moly, right? But so, yeah, that's kind of what I'm perceiving. It's like this shift in the establishment, this actual bona fide attempt to take apart this kind of deep state apparatus and shift it over, right? Yeah, we'll see. We have to see. I mean, we got to get through, because like every bloody week is going to be something new until the election. And then once he's elected, man, it's not going to be an easy road. These people are still in place. That's the whole nature of the deep state. They're part of the establishment. All right. So how's Trump doing? He's doing good. That card with the pentacles, that's a sign of health. That's a sign of fortitude, of strength, of like, stay in the course. Like, stay in the course. Stay the course, right? It's like, man, get active people out there. Down in the States, you got to vote. You got to go you got to vote. You have to. It's so necessary. We all do in the Western world. I know it seems like it's pointless, but it's not. Okay? Have to take part. Okay. Yeah, let's look at JD Vance. It's going to be a long reading. Yeah, just let's look more. What else do we need to know about him? What's his real intent? What's he's really about? Is he there? Is he going to help the Trump team? Is he going to help the people? Is he a legit vice president, or is he just a deep state agent? Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so now if you look at this guy's history, okay, he's 39. He's worked in sort of the tech sector and the investment sector, a lot of LLCs, which are very suspect right away. And so, yeah, and that's kind of like one of the things, like they've been working on him. They've been like sort of priming him. But in the process, like, because, yeah, like he had to come to an agreement. Like, he was so at odds. He was even at odds. I think what happened is he started to get wind working with some of these developers and these investors, these groups of people, before he ran for Senate in Ohio. Okay. And that's when he started to switch sides. And when he got elected in, he was like, wait a second, I'm not fighting your fight. I'm here for the people. He had a big shift, but it's not that long ago. It's only a few years. Okay. Yeah, it was like 4 years is kind of like what I'm seeing. And he, yeah, because he was very anti-Trump, or I don't know if he was but he definitely spoke out against Trump for a while. But yeah, and this is kind of what's been happening with these guys. They start to wake up to like, wait a second, you're pushing this agenda? I think with him, it was a lot of like these big investments in these developing some of this technology and stuff, especially with the big tech, how it wasn't there to sort of benefit the economy. It was there to create the Great Reset, to gear down everything, Yeah, and I think he kind of feels bad about it, actually. He's really hung up about it, but he is kind of there to fight a part of the deep state element, like what I was talking about, like that lobbyist groups and these these corporate entities that float around. That's kind of in like the part of the calling out of the policies that have been in place, right? That's kind of where his aim is going to be, I think, in some ways. But yet, he's going to communicate some of this stuff. He's going to actually speak about this. I mean, this might be part of the big thing, but yeah, no, he's done a switch. I think he's on the up and up. We got to watch him though, right? But what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I mean, Trump has got to make a lot of decisions around people. He has to clear these deep state people away. Like, you got to. You can't have any of them around. Like, I'm so surprised he even uses the Secret Service, but I get it. Like, it costs money. It's a lot of money, a lot of training. It's hard to get that kind of training out of private groups and stuff. Impossible, actually. You can, but the Secret Service training is top notch if it's done properly. It's like the best in the world. Anyway, yeah, he had a revelation, this JD Vance. He really did. He's what they say, like a God-fearing American. So it's good. God-loving, God-fearing American, and it's kind of what we need right now. We definitely need. I mean, even though these people tend to not like me very much, but I don't care. Don't care, man. It's all about freedom. It's all about continuation. It's all about so that our children's all the children have a good future, have a future, and not living in a totalitarian hell, in a communist hell. Okay, so we looked at J.D. Vance. Okay, so one more. What's next? We just got to see what's next. And, you know, and the other thing, like Trump, like, man, like he said, the guy is, he lives like a king, okay? He's got a palace. He's got palaces. Like Mar-a-Lago is like a palace, man. It's palatial. He'd rather be playing golf. He'd rather be enjoying the life that he worked hard for. He'd rather be, you know, enjoying his family, like he said. But he's fighting for America. He's fighting for freedom. He's fighting for us. And we all have to kind of take that sacrifice a little bit, you know, and that's like, we have to. And a lot of people have been. Many people have been. We all, like many of the audience, we've all kind of have done our part in some way, you know. Anyway, what's next? Okay, so this card, the Emperor, Major Arcana card, represents structure, represents the structure of the material world. Okay, and so in some ways this is the establishment. This is the deep state. Yeah, they're freaked out. They don't, and so like, you know, like the more and more people sort of become aware of all of this stuff, it just stops them in their tracks. They have no idea sort of how to proceed in some ways, because it really has relied upon, you know, sleight of hand and obfuscation and you know, tricking people and gaslighting, and part of that is not working, right? So one of the things is they're kind of waiting for the end of this RNC thing, and it's sort of like there is a rest period that they want, that they're kind of taking, but they're sort of ingraining themselves, like the deep state right now, or sort of they're entrenching themselves, they're digging in, okay? And it's and really a big part of the globalist agenda is to have a forever war. That's like a big part of it. It's like they want this climate-driven development to take place and a war, right? This is something that they're going to continue to push, right? They really want to make all of these illegals capable of voting. That's another thing. It's like this voting thing is kind of like the next on the table here. But they're caught. Like, I mean, every single person is talking about how they can't afford anything. And it's pretty much these people that we voted in, or these people that like stole their way in, because that's essentially what it is. Yeah, they've ruined it. They're ruining it, and people are talking about it, right? So it's like a kind of a swing towards, yeah, like they're really, you know, it's kind of like what we saw like with Biden and all of these people, like, man, Biden, Kamala Harris, like who else? Gavin Newsom, all of those guys, all of these, like all of the media, the leftist media, you've been calling this man a Nazi for a decade at least. You've been trying to get people to hate on him. You've been lying about him. And then when your apparatus, however, helped facilitate some guy trying to shoot him and he almost gets shot, and then you give your condolences, that's BS. You guys are criminals and you should be called out, and that's what people should do. Because man, you've been calling this person the worst. You've been making this person worse than Hitler. Like what? And then, oh, our thoughts and prayers are out for the family. You helped cause it. Your rhetoric caused it, if anything. Right? This is what we got to, right? So people have to sort of speak out, right? And it's always been the same thing, right? But yet that's a part of it. It's like, call it for what it is. It's like, thank God some of them were actually talking. Like, I mean, Don Jr. was saying it. I think Tucker Carlson was saying, it's like, you gotta be crazy to think that assassination attempt was not an inside job in some way, shape, or form, was done just on his own. You're fooled, okay? But yeah, that's part of it, right? They've got a few things prepped, man. I think one thing that we got to be very careful of globally is some kind of terrorist attack or something of that nature staged by these guys in multiple places, multiple countries at once. Very likely, right? That's and we have to be vigilant about that, right? And it's just because the people that are willing to implement stuff like that we are in bed with them. They are entrenched, they're living here, we're giving them money. They live beside you, for God's sakes, some of them. Right? And that's what I think they've got in their mind, right? They're gonna keep pushing this notion of a war with Russia until there's no more war, right? The other thing with the whole Zionist America contingent and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, right? That's another one that's like a forever war. That's like one of these things that they want to keep having that press, because that is one of the big dividers in the world. Because and people in the States have to really realize too, it's not just about the States, it's about the world. There's things going on in the world. Like nobody knows what's been going on in the last 4 days since the assassination attempt, because everybody's focus is completely on this situation. They utilize that, right? But see, I'm not necessarily seeing per se like some kind of false flag like that, but kind of. It's kind of like this assassination attempt. It's like, if it happens, it's not going to be a surprise. That's what's so concerning about it. That's why I'm pissed, right? And I don't swear often on camera, but I'm not happy because, yeah, there's not enough people there to stop these guys, right? And it's really up to the Trump team and stuff. His family, they want to take out his family. They really do. They want to get rid of these guys. So that's something that might start to happen, right? As more stuff comes out about Biden and the Biden crime family, they're going to try to attack the Trump clan and the Trump team. And the Trump family isn't just, it's the whole team that's around him and stuff, right? But yeah, I think that's what we're going to see. And we're going to see them kind of like try to go back into the shadows a little bit, but they're not going to be able to. People are like really on them, you know? And for you Canadians out there that are pro-Trump, you got to speak up. You have to. You got to tell these people that are, because what they are being weaponized. These people that are talking this trash about Trump, period. It's weaponized perception, and you have to speak out now. You will not have this opportunity in the future, I don't think. Right? It's like, do you like the idea of having a communist revolution in your country? Because that might be what's next year, or something of that nature. Some kind of weird woke socialist upheaval of some sort. It's already primed, right? So, but we can stop it. We can actually stop this stuff in its tracks. And that's what Trump is showing us. That's what his team is showing us. It's what some of these people that are vocal out in the world that are showing us, right? And it's super important. So yeah, it's like with the RNC and everything, like, yeah, it's good to celebrate a little bit, but man, you got to realize that the time that we're in is deadly serious, right? And a lot hinges on this. And it's just the way it is. And like, man, we were being prepared for this. We were waiting for this, right? And so, you know, it does really, it's exciting. You know, it's kind of good. The more that these guys kind of do these things, the more they expose themselves and things become clearer, right? And that's really what we want. We want truth. And yeah, it's super awesome. And so, you know, it's like yeah, like the prayers and the energy and the meditations and all of those things are very helpful. And to engage on the spiritual side of it is so important. And realize that it's like there are people there that are not just for themselves. They are there for you as well, right? And that those prayers need to go to them as well. We know this, right? But this is what we got to sort of focus on And in our worlds, like as all of this stuff is seemingly the world is sort of falling apart, you have to keep building your world or keep maintaining your world, keep enjoying parts of it. Because those things that are enjoyable, they will slip away, right? Like those are the parts you got to defend. Those are the things that you gotta stand true with and hold the line and hold this line right now. That is so important. Okay? So thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. So if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit that like button, leave a comment, and I really hope to see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.